Hello again. I hope you're all having a lovely week. I know I am. Today I'm going to be looking at a few interviews where Aamir Khan is speaking English. Now, I haven't heard him speak English a lot. He's one of the few celebrities who's really confident in his own language, but I found a few clips and stuff which I think is really interesting. So if you feel like this type of content is something which you enjoy, then if you feel like we're worth it, hit the subscribe button. But let's begin.
Fame does a funny thing, doesn't it? It makes everybody feel that they know you. They see you in film after film. They feel, oh, we know Aamir. Actually, they don't know the real Aamir, do they?
Well, actually, this is something I've often thought of when I meet somebody who's seen my films, and the way they meet me is as if they know me. Hi, how are you? The way they say hi,
And they call you Aamir.
Of course, and but the person I see is a stranger, So I often feel that is an unfair advantage that my fans or my audience has over me. That they get to see me and they know me, and I really don't know them.
But what would you say is the most significant thing the people don't know about you?
I'm just a simple kind of a guy. I mean, I don't know whether I've got any qualities which would...
Dude, I can't. He looks so much like Chandler from Friends. The way how he's sitting, the suit, I don't know what it is. He just reminds me of Chandler Bing. Am I the only one who sees this? Please tell me you see it too.
When you were 21 and Reena was 19, you both eloped.
Yes.
Wait, he and his wife ran away together? And she was 19? And he was 21? Was he still making films then? Or was he acting then? Or...
Why did you do that?
Well, actually, the situation was such that our parents didn't know about us. And mommy and daddy, that's her parents, were quite upset that she was seeing somebody.
Okay.
At that time, I was really scared and frightened that I would lose her, and she was scared and frightened that she would lose me. And it was a tough decision for us because we loved our parents, and we knew it would hurt them. But it wasn't out of disrespect or rebellion that we did that. It was more out of insecurity that we took that step.
How long in advance did you plan it?
I think about a couple of months, because I wasn't 21, and we had to wait till March 14th when I turned 21.
Okay. You booked yourself at the registrar?
Yes, we gave notice for marriage, and it takes about a month to mature.
And during that month, how did you feel?
Well, we were tensed, and that if somebody found out and we stopped or whatever.
Oh my god. Something like that is insane, even by those standards. And the way how he's just presenting it, that in such a cool, convincing way, that it was something which was genuinely necessary so that me and my wife could stay together. Isn't that insane? How well he made it say? Because some people, when they talk about eloping, running away, they make it sound like it's the biggest sin on earth. But the way how he said it, it almost sounds like it's okay. What do you think?
Story behind it.
Well, it's just a reference that his mother makes, which he remembers. So a lot of things that his mother says in the film to the character, which he remembers always.
जिंदगी गुलगप्पे जैसी होती है, पेट पले ही पर जावे.
Oh my god. Have you guys seen this movie? It's called Lal Singh Chaddha, and so many people really like it. And I've seen the first half, and it's a good movie. It's good enough, but the original of this movie, it's basically a copycat movie of the Hollywood movie where Tom Hanks stars in it. It's called Forrest Gump. You guys should watch that movie first. It's a cult classic. And I've gone through Instagram and I've seen people who they just have not seen Tom Hanks play in it. His acting is exceptional. Aamir Khan did good, but some things you can't recreate.
Dangal.
Crime Master Go-Go scheme.
Crime Master Go-Go. आंखें निकाल कर गोटी खेलूंगा गोटी.
Oh, this is actually the cave that he wore.
Yes.
How did you find it?
Well, we have our own sources. So, Aamir, what is that one film, any film, that you'd want the entire world to see?
That's a good question.
Hey,
What's the one film which you think everyone in the world should see?
There's a film I've seen which is a documentary which I really loved. It's called Searching for Sugar Man. And that's really one of my favorite documentaries that I've seen. One of my favorite films. I find the character of Rodriguez extremely inspiring. And when I saw the film the first time, I was very moved. And I remember thinking that if I can become like 10% like him, then I'll be such a better person.
So Aamir, how did you get the title of Mr. Perfectionist? Do you believe in perfection?
No, I don't believe in perfection because I find that beauty lies in imperfection. And I don't think I'm a perfectionist.
Talented बच्चे ऐसे ही होते हैं, वो ऐसे ही ऊपर आते हैं, अपने आप.
I had a very long period in which I didn't have a film that didn't work. So I think they kind of couldn't figure it out that he hasn't had a film that hasn't worked for a long time. And I think that's what made them say that I'm perfect or something.
Well, that's a very good way how you can be humble. Interviewer asks him, how are you such a perfectionist? Aamir Khan says, I'm not a perfectionist. I just had a lot of films where there was nothing wrong for a long period of time and people call me perfectionist. Which basically says that he does his job so well that people have no reason to call him an imperfectionist. That is humility if I've ever seen it.
My own work which I've liked of myself is probably, I would say, Tare Zameen Par. The character of Nikum sir.
Oh my god, you guys remember this movie? It was the most traumatic thing I've ever seen. My mother always used to tell me, if you don't want to go to boarding school, then finish your food. It used to scare the shit out of me. Oh, the scene where he's like crying in the bathroom and stuff. Jesus Christ. Childhood trauma. Kids nowadays would never understand.
I find less flaws in that performance of mine.
So Aamir, do you remember your bat from Lagan?
Oh yeah, I remember.
We remember that craze for cricket that took India by storm right after. And here's another surprise for you.
Wow. It's been a while since I've seen this. You know, इसमें crack आ गया था.
Why don't you tell us the story?
Well, so this is the design of the bats that the Lagan team used, and Nitin Desai had made these bats, and they are actually one piece. It's a single piece. So there's no absorption of shock. So when you hit the ball, you get a bit of a zing in your elbows. And plus, since it's just single piece thing, it's quite heavy. It's much heavier than a normal bat and difficult to wield. So yeah, it was tough for us.
And if you were to
Notice how he said difficult to wield instead of difficult to hold. This expression actually comes from a very cool story. Traditionally, when you think of bats, generally you would think of bats as something where you used to hit something, right? So people always use the word wield with swords, whereas in cricket you usually say hold. But since you're actually holding a weapon, the word wield kind of came across it, which is kind of a cool story. I'm not sure how true it is, but I've read an article.
Synonymous with musicals. They're not all musicals, but it plays a big role. But they're always about hope. There's always this idea of hope. And French cinema and American cinema really changed when it was no longer about hope.
That's right.
About despair.
That's right. Well, I think, it's a country which is strange.
He's talking about how you would describe India.
Because, for example, a lot of people like me, and there's a huge population of us who have grown up in big cities like Mumbai and Chennai and Delhi and Calcutta, our entire education is in English. So English becomes our first language.
I'm not so sure about that. When you talk about the big cities, yes, education is primarily done in English, but there are so many people nowadays as well where they know English, but they don't know how to communicate in it, isn't it? Don't you think so? It's just because when you have a need to speak in English, only then you will speak English very well. You just really, really need practice for it. Sit with a person and talk, which is not to promote myself, but this is basically what we do at Brightside English and our courses. We provide you with a personal tutor, practice conversations with you, and make you much more confident. But let's continue watching.
Think in English.
And for many, English is the only language.
Yes, that is also true. But what happens is, for someone like me, I have strong influences on me which are Indian. And then I also have strong influences on me which are from all over the world, because all my reading is in English. I haven't read a single book in Hindi. So I've read authors, when I was a kid, I was reading Enid Blyton. So, right from a small age, you have influences which are so diverse. So someone like me, by the time I'm 18 or so, and I'm getting into a field which is cinema, there are so many influences on me, and I'm not purely Indian in that sense. You know, and so there are a lot of people like me who are, who have grown up with a lot of influences on them.
And I agree. I was one of them too, you know. I grew up in Oman, which is Middle Eastern country, and I have my Keralite southern roots inbuilt within me, but there have been so many influences on me, which is pretty true to what he's saying. I also have never read a book other than English, apart from the Malayalam textbook and the Hindi textbook in school.
And so what we come out with is not necessarily purely Indian, if you know what I mean.
What did you think then? Because for a lot of people, I was lucky enough to grow up in a neighborhood that was very diverse, and there was a large Indian and Pakistani population, and there are those places in Canada, but for many people, their understanding of Indian culture is Slumdog Millionaire. And that really, what did you think of that?
Well, I
guess that's one good thing compared to this interview. This interview was published 13 years ago. That's almost like in 2013. 2000. That was almost 11 years ago. Quick maths. I think compared to back then, the entire ideology of India throughout the world was, as he said, Slumdog Millionaire, where it was basically people in slums, or it was a backward country. But now, thankfully, the entire thing has changed. Most recently, I personally teach foreign students, and all of them have just come forward and told me, India is an insane country. Did you see the wedding of, what was it, Mukesh Ambani? That's how they speak. Mukesh Ambani. And I'm like, yes, actually it wasn't his wedding, it was his son's. But the entire aspect of Indian, the viewing of Indians have been completely changed. The only thing which I want to change is how they are viewed as in the field of communication, But yes, that's one amazing thing.
I thought the film, I can see why it did well. I can see why it really connected with people, and I'm a big fan of Danny, and I was so happy for him and his entire team that the film did so well. I think for someone like me who has lived all his life in India, it didn't ring true on a lot of levels.
Ring true. I'm not sure if this is an expression or an idiom, but it basically means something which doesn't sit right or doesn't feel right to you. That's basically what it is. I would love to watch more videos about him. He's an exceptional man, someone who I personally study a lot, especially when it comes to communication. And this is how you guys can practice too. Watch interviews of him, and when you find something interesting that he says, stop the video and just explain to yourself. This is a very good exercise which we suggest at Brightside English. So if you feel like you have some more time, then you can hold on for more videos like this, or you can click subscribe and leave a like on this video so that I know that this is something which I should do. But which celebrity should I do next? Priyanka Chopra? Deepika Padukone? But you tell me.